Speedway Report is produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for Racers Reunion Radio. Well, all dirt roads led to Charlotte this weekend. Kevin Harvick wins on a mile and a half. I know, sit down, it was a shocker. But Eric Almirola joins the Legion of Joey Logano haters. We've got all this and more coming up. Welcome to Speedway Report. We are on here Monday, November the 5th, live 2018 from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm Patrick Reynolds, and thank you all for joining the fastest half hour in racing. Pretty busy weekend as we got a lot of championships being decided, a lot of tipping points, I guess you'd say, in some series and some tracks in this first weekend of November. Racing season across the country winding down, less and less cars running, and the value of each race increases every time they hit the track. Let's head out to Fort Worth, Texas. We're going to start with the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Tour. Kevin Harvick took the checkered flag last night on the mile-and-a-half oval. The race itself, a mile-and-a-half oval type of race, but some pretty cool storylines did come out of it. We'll touch on that. The Xfinity cars ran 300 miles on Saturday afternoon. Cole Custer passed Tyler Reddick on the final circuit for the win, his first one of the season and the second of his career. On Friday night, the NASCAR trucks held center stage at Fort Worth. Justin Haley got the victory. Poor Todd Gilliland, he ran out of fuel on the final lap. Would have been a very big win for him. Comes up a little short with Haley going to victory lane. A couple of young guys they had a chance to meet a few years ago here in Charlotte. I guess 2 years ago at the NASCAR Touring Series Awards. Both young men got bright futures in the world of NASCAR. Well, the World of Outlaw late models, well, let's call it what it is. The World of Outlaws World Finals were here in Charlotte. World of Outlaw late models, World of Outlaw sprints, and the Dirt Car Big Block Modifieds brought the touring show to the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Everybody ran qualifying on Thursday. We were going to do some racing on Friday night. We got through the preliminary mains, the last chance qualifiers for the mods and all the heats in the B mains. But with the late start, the features pushed back and eventually postponed to Saturday afternoon as the first part of that program. We knew we were in trouble on Friday night with the rain delay. So with a midnight curfew at the track, the program was just run as far as it could until midnight. And whatever was left over, which we knew there would be some would be, we ran it on Saturday. Friday night, the first of the three feature events was on the track and pulled back into pit road because of the curfew. So Friday night stuff was run on Saturday afternoon. Let's start with there. Brandon Sheppard won that A-main. It was his 13th win of the year. Finally, on Saturday night, Scott Bloomquist easily won the 50-lap World of Outlaw late model feature. Mike Marlar won the series championship. A very emotional time. Guy came up through the ranks of short track racing from like a hobby stock to a modified and finally a full-blown late model. Great to see a guy like him win the championship. World of Outlaw sprint cars raced their Friday night feature Saturday afternoon, where Ian Madsen was your A-main winner. And on Saturday night, when they finally took the checkered flag, Donnie Schatz won. But he claimed his 10th series championship and his 5th straight merely by showing up. When he unloaded the car and hit the track for Thursday qualifying, the points he got for there, good enough. He claims his 10th championship and 5th straight. In the dirt big blocks, Friday night's feature run, that was the first race run on Saturday afternoon. Ageless Brett Hearn won the big block mod fit race on Friday. Saturday night's feature taken by Tim Fuller. Matt Shepard is Mr. Dirt for the Big Block Championship for 2018. Brett Hearn at 59 years old, still winning. USAC sprints were in Santan Valley, Arizona. Friday night's A-main was taken by Justin Grant, and Saturday night's feature by Tyler Courtney. The Cars Tour was up the road from us in South Boston, Virginia. They're about 2 hours away from Charlotte. The super late models went 125 laps, and Corey Heim was your winner. Jared Fryer is the car's Super Late Model Series champ. And the late model stock cars want another 125 laps to make for 250 total for everybody. Craig Moore takes the checkered. He wins the race. Bobby McCarty wins the war as series champ. In one of the big short track races, the All-American 400 for super late models, Nashville, Tennessee. Essentially, the short version is it was rained out. They began with the Pro Late Model 100 yesterday afternoon. They got 20 laps in yesterday when the rains came. They waited it out. What they decided is the Pro Late Model feature will be scrapped. That purse money will be just divided evenly amongst all the teams, will not be made up. And the All-American 400 will be postponed until 2019. Mark your calendars. April 13th and 14th is the new weekend for the All-American 400. All the stuff I gave to you there, plenty to talk about in between all that. Just kind of results, not really. We dig down a little bit. I spent a weekend at the dirt track here in Charlotte, the 0.4 of a mile oval. A lot of folks I talked to, which stems into my story, new folks that I introduced to dirt track racing I saw there, and it was their first time at the Speedway. So some folks even asked, "Where are you going?" I went to the dirt track at Charlotte, and they didn't know what I was talking about. The track's, I don't know, like 15 years old, maybe more. I think it was early 2000s they built it. But it's across the street from the 1.5-mile track and nestled in between that and the ZMAX Dragway, where the 4-wide nationals are held. It's right there. It's pretty big. Grandstand seats about 15,000, 0.4 of a mile dirt track. Yet a lot of people around didn't know it was there. So there were some first-timers at the track over the weekend that had been to some of the big NASCAR races before, but had never been to a short dirt track. So I spoke and chatted and traded some stories and found out a little bit about them, where they're from, and their racing experience. And they knew, pretty well, knew NASCAR, knew of the big track stuff, very familiar with some of the big names. But as far as the short track world, they're a little new to them. They were fresh faces, and they saw the cars go around. The first race held, I want to say, Saturday. So we're about Saturday afternoon, about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the dirt big block cars take to the track for their feature left over from Friday night. They go green. A daytime dirt surface kicks up a lot of dust, but these guys were still sideways in the corners and sliding, and we were kidding about just cars going around left-hand corners, and I pointed out that all these guys are turning right to go around the left-hand corner. And they just kept watching the cars slide through the corners lap after lap. And they were amazed. They were really amazed and impressed with the driving ability of dirt racers and what they were seeing. And I said, sit down a little bit. I'm going to give you a little bit more news here. They watch the cars go lap after lap, 3-wide, 4-wide. We're familiar with dirt track racing. This happens. 2-wide, 3-wide, 4-wide. It's more of a single file setup and pass dynamic on pavement. Different animal on dirt. And you just slide through the corners and hammer down the straightaways and slide through the corners and driving like that in 3 and 4-wide, bumper to bumper, back and forth. And after a little bit, I said, okay, I want to tell you something. There's no rear view mirrors in these cars. There's no radios. There's no spotters. There's nothing going on here like NASCAR. All you have is what you see out the front of the car and your peripheral vision. It's your job to pay attention. This was jaw-dropping news to some of the newcomers. They could not believe what they were seeing at this point, how sideways the cars were in the corners, how much they were sliding, yet how much control the drivers held. I heard comments like they're crazy. These guys got a death wish. I said, no, they don't at all. The cars are extremely safe because we looked in the cockpits ahead of time. We walked down in the pit area. They saw the seats and peered inside a late model, inside a sprint car, inside of a modified. And they knew the cars were safe, but just kind of like their inexperience with racing, they thought the talent level was extremely high. And finally the comment came out, I think these guys are better than the big time NASCAR guys. I could not agree more. There is a ton of talent, raw driving talent on a local short track, paved or dirt for that matter. I love the dirt racing, but we saw a lot of talent on Saturday with the late models, the sprint cars, and the modifieds. And at this point in the show, we were only at the big block modifieds. There were no late models or sprints on the track yet. They hadn't even run. So the talent level, it was really off the charts. Now, except the big block modified race had trouble getting going. It was one of those races. It was a 40-lap feature, and the cautions had to have been in the double digits. But it was one of those races. We've all been there before. 2 laps, another yellow. 2 laps, another yellow. And I think it had a lot to do with the tire compounds and a daytime dirt surface and how it caused problems with the rear tires on the car. There was a bunch of flat tires. That was a guess. I don't know, because the sprint cars and the late models did not have such of a tire issue or a caution problem issue. Now, the late models took to the track second, and for their 50-lapper, I think they only had 2 yellows in it, and it went by pretty quick. And then the speed of the sprint cars came out. After watching the big blocks and watching the late models were impressive enough. Now we have the sprint cars on the track. So this was brand new, the big wings up top, World of Outlaws. And you could smell the fuel that was just so different from the gas that burns in the modifieds and the late models. And the speed they were going. Naturally, we had, you have a couple of bad wrecks, bad appearing anyway. Fortunately, no one was hurt. But watching and talking to newcomers at a dirt short track that have had the NASCAR experience, I was impressed with how much information they took in, how observational they were, and came to the conclusion on their own, I think the talent level here is higher than what I see on TV in NASCAR. I couldn't agree more. There is so much talent in those 3 divisions that we'll never, ever see a NASCAR super speedway, but will be buried in a dirt short track somewhere in the Midwest or West Coast or in the Northeast with the mods. But there is a ton of good race car driving talent in there. And what always appealed to me about the short tracks is they did it and they were not getting paid for it. Those short trackers worked another job, came and raced on the weekend, and whatever money they won went right back into the car. And it certainly may or may not even be paying a dent in what they actually spent to get there. Now, the modified race paid $6,000 to win. The sprints and the late models paid $10,000 to win, and the purse dropped from there. But what those cars spent, the haulers were on display. So many people had 2 cars and backup parts and crews and the travel expenses. You're not going to make any money. You're going to lose money racing. We all get that. Yet these guys come back week after week, and it was wonderful to see the short track talent on display in as much of a professional manner as they could be. And without me saying anything, without me prodding to these newcomers, they were able to see the talent. They were impressed by what they saw and thought that the talent there was higher than NASCAR Cup racing. I thought that myself. I thought it was really cool that other folks came to the conclusion without me telling them that, or me even prodding or trying to steer them. They just witnessed what was in front of them, had seen NASCAR before, compared the dirt racing they saw to what they've seen at Charlotte, at Atlanta, and on TV. And it was pretty cool that they embraced dirt short track racing for what it was. A very talented, very exciting, very good race program. And that just, gosh, the World of Outlaws World Finals is one of the top short track events of the year. Just everything that's there. So many marquee names in the world of short track racing come together under one sanctioning body, one event. It's just a wonderful, impressive event year after year. I love going. It is fantastic. And it was really neat this time to see newcomers who had never been to dirt racing show up, look at it, and watch the look in their eye and just see what happened and see what they thought of dirt short track racing. It was pretty cool. It was a real cool experience for a guy like me who has seen so many races and bring some NASCAR people there, and they looked around and were really impressed with dirt racing. And I told a little bit of a story to some of these folks, and I mentioned his name a few moments ago. Brett Hearn won one of the modified races and finished fourth in the other at 59 years old. Yeah, you got Stuart Friesen is such a strong product who's moved on to truck racing, and Matt Shepard is the champion again. Brett the Jet, goodness gracious, is still as competitive as ever. He's in the top 10 in Super Dirt Series points, still winning races, still winning track championships. He was a top superstar when I was, before my teens, and he was in his later teens, and he was winning a bunch of races in his early 20s. It's just, he's been on a streak for, close to 40 years. He's been running strong and still impressive. I guess over 40 years now. But amazing to see the man just in victory lane in a fourth place, still going strong. Lots of booze over the years. I'm looking at him now and what he's done in his career, and it was still, he looked as sharp as ever on Saturday and over the weekend at the dirt tracks. Now, we had 3 championships decided. Stuart Friesen claims the modified series title. Mike Marlar in late models, and Donnie Schatz in the sprint car world. And there was no big artificial shootout. There was, I liked, the fact that Schatz had to show up and just claim the championship is a tip of the cap to the type of season he had. I thought this was so much better than the artificial playoffs that we're dealing with on the big NASCAR tour. I don't like them, the rounds, this Final Four stuff that's going to be in Homestead here in a few weeks. It was a pleasure to see racing how it should be, and championships decided how it should be. It was just math as to who was ahead of who and how many points each one had to get and where one had to finish. I was fine with all that. I loved it. I've been doing it my whole life. It was fine for me. It felt like I really saw an honest championship. When you see racing like that, it just feels legit to me. And we're so many years into NASCAR playoffs, I still cannot get on board that I'm seeing a title settled in a legitimate manner. Before I leave the topic of the World of Outlaws, gratuitous plug coming right up. I want to thank Randy LaJoy with the Joy of Seating out of Concord, North Carolina. Make some of the safest race car seats in motorsports, period, ever. Joy of Seating. Go to Randy LaJoy's shop. Had some wonderful hospitality that he set me up with. Was fun to watch the races from his suite, and ate some of his food and drink some of his cold beverages on Saturday night too. Randy LaJoy, the Joy of Seating. Thank you very much. If you need a seat for your race car, or your kid does, or whoever, call Randy in Concord, North Carolina, Joy of Seating, and they'll take care of you in an extremely safe seat. Biggest thing, if I go to the Texas Big Track, we'll delve into NASCAR here a little bit. Kevin Harvick's selfie with that young fan. Yeah, that was a pretty cool part of the weekend. The race wasn't awful, wasn't spectacular either. We can't have Darlington 2003 every single weekend. It was a 1.5 mile racetrack. The big drama here was playoffs and who's in and who's out, which I don't really care about, but I thought Harvick did something pretty cool with that young fan, brought him in, took a selfie on the racetrack, and then gave him the checkered flag. What I was disappointed with was the comments by Eric Almirola after the race and what he was mouthing off with about Joey Logano. As much as I berated Logano for the use of his front bumper at Martinsville, I thought he did nothing wrong at Texas. And for Eric Almirola to come across with the comments of, he's already won, he's already at Homestead, why is he racing me so hard? Hold no water at all. It is a race in Texas. Every driver should be racing hard to win every race. That's all Logano was doing. I bashed him the other week for his run at Martinsville. I'll defend him this week for his run in Texas. And I know Almirola said this stuff on the radio, in the car, in the heat of the moment. He's come out of the car, and that's when raw emotion and judgment, lack of judgment are right there. Almirola may feel different today, had a chance to cool down a little bit, but just because Logano has won a race, I don't expect him or Harvick to roll over at Phoenix this coming week, nor should they. I think the Cup Series, really has stepped over the bounds if these guys stop racing or don't even show up to Phoenix. Why bother when they got to take care of business at Homestead? So Almirola, this is one of my pet peeves of Cup racing. He raced me too hard. What kind of quote is that? That's pointless. That's why people buy tickets to see hard racing. And there's some empty seats. So we can all do the math on that. He raced me too hard. No such thing. It's supposed to be hard. All-American 400 postponed from Nashville. Will be run in April. It was rained out. As I was pointed out, somebody pointed out to me on Twitter, the Governor's Cup at New Smyrna is this coming weekend. The weekend after is Snowball Derby practice. The weekend after that, Thanksgiving. The week after that, the Derby. The week after that, the PRI show. We are in the middle of December when you don't run outside races, even in Tennessee, in the middle of December. Possibly this could open the doors for some bigger springtime and summertime races for the super late models. They have a very packed fall and winter schedule, and it's tough on the budgets to run all these big multi-hundred distance lap races on their budgets because there's still a lot of guys that work for a living and not race for a living. But maybe this could, I don't know if I would advocate for the All-American 400 to go to the spring, but maybe some of these races could. The old All-Pro Series used to run super late model big races all year long, from spring to the fall. So maybe we can spread these out more, get them all out of the fall and pop some in the summer or the springtime. That would be kind of cool. But I'm looking forward to April in the All-American 400. I want to wish rest in peace to the Holman family. Mary Holman George passed away since we were on the air last week. Her father, Tony Holman Jr., bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in November of 1945 after World War II, pretty much literally saved the track. Rest in peace, Mari. She had quite the career as a philanthropist and all she did for the world of motorsports at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And if you go to NBC Sports YouTube channel, released today, Coffee with Kyle, where a great conversation between Kyle Petty and Tony Stewart. I actually was working on my laptop 2 tables away while they had coffee and did this entire interview. I heard it unedited. We'll see what the episode comes together. But if you look over Kyle's right shoulder and there's a dude in a dark shirt with the back of his head facing the camera, that's me. I'm an extra in the show, and I was doing some work on the laptop here, probably a little racing work as we get. But I was sitting there working, and the director asked me to turn around, so the back of my head was a better shot for him. But if you go to, I think it's on YouTube with NBC Sports, Coffee with Kyle, and it's a chat between Kyle Petty and Tony Stewart. Guys, in between our broadcasts, keep up on the world of auto racing with SpeedwayReport.com. This show and all of our other ones can be uploaded to the site. We also have racing articles to read. Upload of this broadcast and our past shows are on Facebook. They're on the Racers Reunion Facebook page and on the Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds page. On Twitter, I'm at Speedway Pat or at Speedway Report. You go to racersreunion.com, head to the forum. They're stored there. They're on our YouTube channel as well as my pages on LinkedIn and Google+. Big thanks to everyone on our Facebook live feed for joining the conversation tonight. I want to thank the military past and present for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans in our daily life, including the simple things like bench racing right here on a Monday night. Freedom is not free, and a veteran paid that bill for us. To all of the men and women who are defending freedom and watching Speedway Report, take care of yourselves and come home soon. One of the best ways you can honor all the veterans past and present is Tuesday, November 6th. Tomorrow, as we do this live, go vote. Please go vote. A special salute to the teachers, school staff, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics in our own communities. They are quiet and modest heroes every single day. God bless and thank you. You have been watching Speedway Report from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. Please like our Facebook page, Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and follow me on Twitter at SpeedwayPat. On the Drag Racing List Facebook page, next is Racing and Rockin' with Draglist.com. BP, JB, and BS are talking some drag racing with no BS and some real cool music. We will be back here on Facebook Live in 1 week, Monday, November the 12th, with a look at NASCAR Cup in Phoenix, USAC Sprints in Paris, California, the North-South Shootout in Concord, North Carolina, past late models in Hickory, North Carolina, and a whole lot more. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I will see y'all next time.